Oh boy, a brand new Architects album. I am so excited. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, metalheads of the internet. Today we are talking about the classic Symptoms of a Broken Heart, the latest studio album and the 10th overall from Architects. And I'm just gonna cut straight to the goddamn chase with this one today. It's really boring. It's really bad. Not only is it Architects' worst album to date, but quite possibly one of the worst rock albums of 2022. This album features what is unquestionably the band's most straightforward, formulaic, and unintuitive and uninspired songwriting to date. They have completely abandoned the heavier, the more progressive and complex elements of their sound in favor of a very streamlined and simplistic and accessible kind of arena rock pop metal hybrid. Very reminiscent, I would say, of like mid-2000s Linkin Park, but with all edges smoothed right the goddamn fuck out. Metal Trenches has, on a number of occasions, labeled Modern Architects Imagine Dragon's Core, and I think that that is a thoroughly, ridiculously, stupidly accurate description as well. He hit the nail on the goddamn head with that one. While not quite as overproduced and overblown as last year's For Those Who Wish to Exist, this is still a very poorly made record. Everything is compressed to hell. It's hard to pick up some guitar solos and melodies here and there, and it just has this very, like, squashed, lifeless kind of feel to it. I would say that this is disappointing, but considering the quality of For Those Who Wish to Exist, I can't really say I'm shocked. At this point, I'm more shocked that this is the exact same band that years ago was making records like Hollow Crown and Daybreaker and such, because, I mean, this just completely lacks the same level of intelligence and heart and creativity that we were seeing on those early records. Deepfake kickstarts the album with a slurry of compression-caked riffs and electronic drums and unnecessary synthesized dribble while Aaron Carter rants about something, I guess, society, people being disingenuous. I don't know. It definitely feels like Architects wants to still have the same kind of urgency that we might have heard on something more politically charged like the aforementioned Daybreaker, but the lyrics keep things so vague and so unspecific that it's hard to really get invested in anything. It's hard to really understand where anyone is coming from. The chorus is weak, the breakdown is even weaker, the whole thing ends up feeling like something that like a bunch of teenagers might have written after just learning about politics and rock music for the first time. Yeah, yikes, not off to a great start. The next track, Tear Gas, follows a similar blueprint and achieves similar results. It is a little bit slower with like a bigger, edgier lead riff and also a slightly more effective and poignant chorus. But I mean, like, it's still not great. It kind of feels like some really overproduced, edgy, hot topic butt rock and mallcore. There's some kind of weird sound repeating throughout the track that I'm assuming is from the drum kit. I don't really know for sure because, again, everything is so fucking synthetic and so fucking compressed. But, like, it sounds and feels a little bit too Saint Anger snare drum for my personal liking, and I hate how it just kind of monotonously plogs away. The lyrics, too, are quite odd, often reading as either the kind of shit I would expect from a Five Finger Death Punch record, or the kind of shit I would expect from a motivational poster. A great example of the former being Never Afraid to Be Despicable No, stood at the brink and you're still looking for the last laugh, and I guess you're gonna go to hell, guess you're gonna go to hell, tell a lie, and a great example of the latter being Anything is possible, we could be unstoppable. Spit the Bone is built on this semi-urgent, militaristic kind of drum beat that is so lazy. It's been done to death like 100,000 other goddamn times by 100,000 other goddamn edgy fucking butt rock bands. Everyone from 3 Days Grace to Skillet to the aforementioned Five Finger Death Punch. Burn Down My House is a little bit more moody, which I can appreciate, because at least there's finally some actual variety, but, like, that mood never, like, evolves into anything especially substantial, or powerful, or effective. Not gonna lie, when I saw the track Doom Scrolling, I kind of thought, okay, here's an opportunity for Architects to tap into how people use social media to kind of, like, deal with all this dystopian nonsense nowadays. That's a great idea. Finally, Architects is actually doing something kind of interesting and cool and provocative. But instead, just like with Deepfake, the lyrics actually play things really safe, and it keeps everything really vague. Huge missed opportunity in my opinion, same with Born Again Pessimist and Life is Killing Us, which, you know, from reading the titles you would assume, alright, there's something kind of urgent and cool that might happen in this song, but nope, it's just Architects doing what they do, and doing it not very well. There are a few bits and pieces here and there that have a little bit of extra spice and momentum. For instance, There are a few bits and pieces here and there that carry a bit of extra momentum and spice. For instance, a new moral low ground has some melodies and hooks and rhythms reminiscent of an enthusiasm I might see from pop punk or post-hardcore. The closing track, Be Very Afraid, as well, also has some bulkier, heftier, more muscular riffs that maybe wouldn't fit on an early Architects record, but might fit on an album from a band that Architects inspired, like I Prevail. But unfortunately, by the time we get to these points, the album is pretty much done, and I'm kind of ready to go do something else, you know? Lead singer Sam Carter is clearly doing his best to try to sell this material. Say whatever you want about the man, but don't ever call him impassionate or heartless, because that is clearly not fucking true. But there's only so much he can do when the music is this simple, this lazy, and this boring. And also when the production does so much to actively fuck his shit up, and the rest of Architects' shit up. And once again, it's just genuinely heartbreaking to see Josh Middleton putting Sylosis on the back burner once again in favor of Architects. I mean, some of his weakest fucking riffs to date, some of his worst work behind the scenes to date. He played a big role in producing this record. It's sad. For the love of God, Josh, I get it, you joined Architects to help them out during a tragic time. I respect that, but please go back to Sylosis. Go back to what you're good at doing. This ain't it. In theory, I have no real issue with Architects wanting to do more straightforward and accessible kind of arena rock and pop metal. You know, we've seen a few other older metalcore bands kind of go down that road, the most, successful of which probably being Bring Me the Horizon, who right now are packing fucking stadiums, nominated for Grammy Awards, selling records, releasing good music too. Everything they've done from That's the Spirit onward, I've really enjoyed. So yeah, in theory, again, I really am fine with it, but the execution is so supremely underwhelming. Like, my God. It literally is as if Architects just looked at what Bring Me the Horizon have done these past few years, and they just said, what if we did that, but like, with no interesting songs or jams whatsoever. Solid 1 out of 5 for me. I think this is a terrible record. You can call me a hater all you like, you can tell me I'm a contrarian, and that I just don't get it, if that makes you fucking feel better. But I went into this record as open-minded as possible, accepting that this was going to be a much more straightforward record, and I left it just completely disappointed and bored out of my mind. I guess if you're one of those people who was head over heels in love with For Those Who Wish to Exist, you'll love this record too. More fucking power to ya. But I would personally much rather just go re-listen to the older Architects records. Not because they're heavier, not because I'm an old man and I can't accept that the times are changing, but because they're better. Plain and simple. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.